Welcome back to Flipping Dreams. I'm your host, Heather Renee May, and we are rounding out episode 20 with Katie Miles. You get to meet Katie and hear all about her path from going from a naval officer to COO at a startup to a real estate entrepreneur, and then realizing her strength with finance and how she could provide valuable coaching to help everyone reach their retirement goals. Did you laugh with Ashley in episode 19? Well, Ashley and Katie are friends, and in this episode, you will find us laughing as much, if not more, and you will hear all these amazing, beautiful insights. We talk about gravesites and ghosts, building your runway, her armored agent course strategies, which include breaking old negative thoughts about money, and how we all deserve a brilliant future. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And again, you are listening to Flipping Dreams.
Hi, Heather.
Hey, Katie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. It's been a whirlwind of a week, but I'm just so excited that we were able to make this work out.
Your background is crazy. Like I
Yeah.
was reading it's awesome.
Oh,
Like
thank
you've done
you.
everything, like everything.
Not yet.
It's
I mean,
amazing. Amazing.
I'm working on it. I'm working on all the things. Also, I'm really tired. So, like, yeah. Yeah, it's been a really amazing journey so far. I definitely, yeah. I think honestly, I think right now is some of the best times of my life. I'm really like just feeling fulfilled. I'm digging in. I'm giving back in a lot of ways, and like it's just, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
It's awesome. Oh, it's amazing. It was so fun to it's like I have a crazy background too. And so it's like, and I say crazy in the best way. I hope you do that.
Yeah.
And it's so when I read other people who have done like been in so many different industries and done so many different things, I'm like, I feel like you're my people.
Yeah.
I feel
You know,
like you're my person.
it's so
You're like,
true. Yeah, because it's so true because I think a lot of people like it takes one to know one kind of thing, right? Like, like people are always looking at me like, oh, you reinvent yourself and like it's so easy. I'm like, nah, it's not easy. But I just
not
do
easy.
it and I do it a lot. and and so but I think that like, yeah, for sure when I meet people, because most of the time when I start to give people like, where are you from? I'm like, do you have a map? Because it's like a lot. There's a lot going
Like,
on. How much time do you
where
have?
where do I start?
Yeah, like, yeah. And then about like, 5 minutes in, they're like regretting they asked me that question most of the time. And so when I do meet people that have like really interesting lives and they've made changes and they've taken risks and they've done things, I'm like, oh my God, yes, yes, you get me. You understand. Like, this is,
Yes,
yeah, I'm not running from things. I'm running to life. Like, this is life. Like,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Like, yeah. So I was like so excited reading your bio. I'm like, oh, this
Yay.
is gonna be so fun.
Yes, yes.
Love it.
So yeah, so okay, I mean, welcome to Flipping Dreams. We kind of like just
I know we
dug
just
right in.
jumped
This is
in.
great. So Katie, I want you to tell me about your journey, because you have a lot of really interesting twists and turns, and then I'm going to dig into your armored agent course. I really want to
Mhm.
hear about that. I have a lot of, I really loved. Um, Reading ahead of time and like just yeah, you're doing some amazing things, so yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So so now I'm like, where do I begin?
Great. Well, we
Um,
have an hour, so you can just
cool. Cool. Well, I guess I wait, I guess I'll just start professionally. Yeah, so it's hard to believe, but like it's 14 years of professional experience, but it's all over the place. And like my journey has been full of twists and turns and full of surprises and things I never ever would have expected. Um my first gig coming out of college was actually in the military. So I was in the United States Navy. I was a naval officer, and I did that for 6 years. And if anybody knowing me growing up, they would probably find that to be really funny because like I came from a military family. My dad served, my granddads, like I come from that background, but I never ever saw that as something that I would do. Like had a lot of respect for the service, but just never thought it was something I would do. Um, and then it came time for college. And my dream school was the University of Notre Dame. Like that's where I wanted to go since I was a
Mm.
little kid. That's what I worked for. And when it came time to like, I got in, and then we started running numbers, right, as a family and looking at the tuition. And I realized, holy smokes, like I can't afford this. And we, at that time in my family, that we didn't have money for college. So I was like, well, do I do I give up and go to a different school? Do I find another way, or do I find a way to make this dream work? And
Mhm.
suddenly the military was looking really great
Yeah, 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 right?
because it's like suddenly these options that I remember looking at my dad in high school and going like, Dad, like, come on, like, do you see me being in the military? And suddenly you're considering these options that you never would have before because you're just trying to make a dream happen, right?
Yep,
You're just like,
totally.
I'll do anything to make this work. So I earned a Navy ROTC scholarship. And so
Nice.
that's what, yeah. So the deal is they send you to school, you do your 4 years, you graduate, and you get commissioned. So that's what I did. So suddenly I'm like gung ho going to be in the Navy. So first gig out of college, 6 years active duty. Um,
Wow.
it's amazing where life takes you, because I never would have thought I would do that. But to this day, some of my greatest adventures in life, some of my best friends are from those 6 years when I served.
Mm.
So it kind of set the tone and laid the foundation for that sense of adventure in a career that I never
And
would have had.
what was that like? Like, did you get to travel a lot, or were you stationed in a specific place, or yeah.
Yeah, so my first duty station, I was on the USS Germantown, which is an amphibious warfare ship based out of, at that time, they were based out of San Diego, California. So I got to live in California for a few years, loved San Diego, an amazing part of the country. And I deployed on that ship twice. And then my next gig, if you will, I actually volunteered for an assignment with the Army. So I was still active duty Navy at that time, where we were in the world. Things were really heating up in Afghanistan.
Mm.
That this was 2009 timeframe, and at that time, the Army was looking for volunteer forces from both the Navy and the Air Force to supplement their manpower on the ground.
Okay, yeah.
So I, being just kind of up for an adventure, if you will, and wanting to kind of mix things up, I volunteered for an assignment. And so I deployed to Kandahar, Afghanistan in early 2009. And I was there
Oh.
for almost a year.
Oh.
Yeah, came home in January 2010. And that
What
is,
was that like? Oh my gosh. As
it,
a woman being there too. I mean, like, yeah, I'm fascinated.
yeah, it was an experience. I tell people, when people ask this question now, it's kind of complicated to answer, because I'm so glad I did it. It's an experience that I'm so glad and grateful I did it. And I'm grateful for the perspective in life it gave me. But when it was time to come home, I was ready. I
I
was
bet.
ready to come
I
home. I was
bet.
there for almost 10 months. And I came home in January 2010. Um, that assignment gave me, again, at that time, in that conflict, um, there were so many, um, it was hard. It was really hard being there. We lost a lot of service members while we were over
Mm.
there. And it gives you when you see, this sounds super dramatic, but I think it's kind of true. When you see men and women going home in body bags, when you see that, you never take life for granted ever, ever again.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
I don't say that lightly. It forever gave me a sense of, even on my worst days here to this day, you know what, over 10 years later that I've been home, even on the worst days here, we have an obligation to live life with gratitude, because not everybody made it home. And we have an obligation to go after and pursue happiness and pursue fulfillment and pursue things in life that give us purpose and meaning and that serve and do good for other people, because there are lots of people who they didn't make it home. They
Yeah.
don't get to live this life. They don't get to enjoy the freedoms that we have here. So
Mm.
again, going through that experience then, and it's been 10 years since I've been home, and I can go back to this place and feel it so intensely. But I am
Yeah.
so grateful that I did that assignment.
That's
Absolutely.
so amazing. And it's those moments, it's those pivotal moments in our life that really shape like our mission statement, our personal vision statement of like where we
Yeah,
want to go and like what is important to us and what success is to us. Because
exactly.
because I think it definitely changes. Like, you know, you grow up and you have this idea, okay, success is going to Notre Dame or like getting the A's or getting this or whatever, making this much money and having the 2.5 kids and the whatever. But the thing is like when you are in facing those dramatically intense life and death situations, where it just puts life in a different perspective. I
Mhm.
mean, it's what a gift to
Yeah.
be able to see that and come back and bring back like um, this mission of trying to like do good and like, you know,
Mhm.
make a difference. That's awesome.
Yes. And just live and truly just live life with heart and purpose, because that's what matters at the end of the
Yeah,
day. It really
and
is.
when and you living and being your best self, you're shining light for other people to do the same. Like you're
Mhm.
giving them permission. And I
Right.
think that's one of the things like I try to highlight with my conversations. I mean, I don't have to work hard because I have great guests. But like, you know, I try to like highlight this idea that like it's not just one person and you know, there's not just, you know, one like everyone can reach the top of the summit
Mhm.
and we all need to be there. Like we all need each other. And the more the merrier. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my, I love that you said that we can all reach the top of the summit. And this is jumping way forward in my
Cool.
career timeline. And I know that I know
Well,
we'll get into this,
yeah.
but when I got into real estate years later, my very first broker, um, so I started my real estate career in Philadelphia,
Okay.
and my real estate broker there ran his office with that mentality, that abundance mentality of, listen, we can all be successful in this office. It's not a zero sum game where,
Mm,
if, in order for me to win, you have to lose. Like I have to put you down to elevate me. Like that was not tolerated in that very first sales office that I worked in. And the beauty of that was that he created this team of independent contractors. We were all running our own businesses, but we had this sense of family, of teamwork, of helping each other out, of constantly providing coaching and mentorship and helping each other, because we all wanted to make it. We all wanted
yes.
to be really, really good in real estate. And quite frankly, we were. We were. There was room for everybody. So that abundance mentality, I think whatever industry you're in, whatever you're working on, it is so crucial. It's critical to your success to be lifting others around you up all the time.
Absolutely. And I think we think of it like in terms of like, so there's certain careers or like areas that are more competitive than others.
Right.
Like the arts is pretty competitive.
Mhm.
Sales, of course, is super
Yes.
competitive. And so like, but what's interesting is I think that, like you said, it can be applied to any area. Like there is abundance everywhere. And I think that um, the more that we're having these conversations and the more this is getting out there and over the waves, I feel like people are starting to pick up that, you know, they're starting to debunk the zero sum myth. Like they're starting to realize that this is not the way, this doesn't bring happiness, this doesn't make you more successful. That in fact, you could be even more successful if you lift everyone up. It's it's
Exactly.
better. I mean, like it's better for everyone. Like it's
It's
not,
more fun.
and
It's
it's more,
It's more
yeah.
fun, and you're not lonely because you stomped on people on your way up. It's
Or worried about, oh no, they're going to come catch up to me and then they're going to stomp me. I mean, it's like it's a neurotic way to live. It's not good.
it's not
Just
good. It's
to
not good.
listeners, just don't do it. Just don't
Yeah,
do it.
just don't. Just have more fun. Enjoy
Yeah.
life more than
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Exactly. Okay,
That's
okay. So
funny.
let's
So I
let's
jumped
get
all
back.
over
Yeah,
the
no, this
place.
is great.
Yeah.
This is great. So okay, so you come back from Afghanistan
Yeah.
and you are looking at life with a different perspective. What do you do then?
Yeah. So to completely came back just renewed and invigorated and just like ready to keep living life with purpose, right? And so 2010, I knew that I had one tour in the Navy left. I decided to stay on for 2 more years, and I was going to work on getting my master's, getting my MBA, while transitioning out of the military. So moved from San Diego to Chicago,
Cold.
and so cold. Oh my. And I knew that. Like, I went to school in the Midwest, so like I knew. But man, I had forgotten. I had forgotten how cold that first winter back. I'm like, what am I doing? I was in San Diego last year.
Yeah.
But moved to Chicago, like enrolled in the University of Chicago in their program, their MBA program. So did that program part-time at night, so like nights and weekends, while working at Great Lakes Naval Station, which is outside of Chicago. So spent the next 2 years kind of balancing it was like part military life, part civilian life as I made this transition. So then when I transitioned out of service, graduated with my MBA, my first job was actually with a small retail startup that a friend from grad school was starting. So I helped her bootstrap her company off the ground for about 9 months after. And we can get a little bit more into this, but with that kind of startup, a very shaky startup environment, this was where a lot of my money beliefs were really tested. And this is where, and it's funny when you look back at life and when you're in it, you don't always see it, right? You're just navigating. But when you look back, you see how all the dots are connected. This was a point in my life when some of my very like serious money impressions were made, but I didn't realize it until years later. Okay, so
Wow.
I work at this startup for a little under a year. It was a bit of a bumpy ride financially. We can get more into that. But from there, I was ready for something more stable. So I transitioned into a very traditional buttoned up corporate procurement role at a pharmaceutical company. And
Okay.
that role took me to Philadelphia. So I'm working retail startup in Chicago and very quickly transitioned to pharmaceutical procurement
Wow.
in
Okay.
Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can unpack that
hmm Yeah, that's a little different. That's a little jump.
just a little bit,
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
little bit of jump. Yeah. So what was interesting about that transition, I will say this. At first, coming out of the military, I thought, okay, like I'm going to live in Chicago. Chicago's my city. This is the way that life is going to be now. And it's so funny how it turns out because I realized after living in Chicago for a few years, it's a fabulous city. I have incredible friends there. I love going back and visiting to this day, but something didn't feel right.
hmm
Something didn't feel right. And you can kind of feel it in your gut. You feel it rising. And I tried to push it down for a bit, but it just kept bubbling up till finally I went, you know what? I think I need to try something else. And this opportunity came to work at this pharmaceutical company in Philadelphia. I didn't know anybody in Philly. Actually, that's not true. That's
Wow.
not true. I had one acquaintance. I had one friend of a friend who I had met through another friend, but we were acquaintances at best. And she's a great friend to this day. But we didn't really know each other that well at that point. She's the only person I knew in Philly when I decided, you know what, I'm going to take this job and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make the leap and just make it happen. Um,
I love
so I
that.
moved to the East Coast, had no idea what I was doing, found an apartment in this city that I knew nothing about, and started working this very traditional 9 to 5 corporate job. So this life stage was interesting because it was another leap of I had already taken a leap of faith from the military to the civilian world, tried my hand at working at a startup in Chicago. And so this was just another transition to something totally unfamiliar. So,
Yeah, which
yeah.
is awesome. I mean, like, so I love that you were like unafraid. Well, you might have been afraid, but you still did it.
Oh, totally. Oh,
Yeah.
totally. And that's so funny too, because people think like they think that you go through these phases and you're fearless. It's not. I was totally feeling all the feels.
Yes,
I felt
yes.
fear. I felt doubt. I felt, well, can I make this work? I don't know. I'm moving from a city where I know many people. My network is here, to a place where I don't know anyone. Of course I was afraid, but there was something deeper. I don't know how to describe it. It was just something deeper in me going, it's time. You just need to try this. And you can always move back if it doesn't work out. So I
Yeah,
had to go.
and I love that idea that I'm a firm believer in changing your scenery will change your life in so many ways. And like when I was living in New York for like 12 and a half years. And when I finally ran out of money, I'm
Been
like,
there.
I literally took out a map and I was like, where have I not lived yet that I should, where can I? And so I started applying for jobs in Charlotte, North Carolina and in Boston. And I ended up getting this job for a software company in Boston. Did not know anyone in Boston, had never even visited. And I was like, well, okay, let me find a room to rent and let me go just move to Boston and just drive north and here we go. But
Nice.
I think, but it totally, there's some sort of freedom also when you do that because you're shifting your perspective and shifting like up so many things, and it's super nerve-wracking. Anytime you move is so stressful, but it's also an opportunity to like paint your why again, like just like figure out like what are my dreams, like what was I trying to do, what am I trying to do, and let me draw this picture again and let me start fresh with this different like scenery and different people and different accents. And like really, I'm not a fan of Dunkin' Donuts coffee, sorry, but like anyway.
All right, let's do it. I gotta go. I gotta
I
go.
was like, where are the Starbucks? I was like, why is the Dunkin' Donuts everywhere? Where are my
I
Starbucks?
love
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, I'll edit that out. We're still friends. We're still good.
That's
We're
awesome. We're
like,
still
no.
friends.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, now that we're talking about coffee, which is one of my favorite topics, but
I love it.
I miss the coffee that I used to get from the street carts in New York. I
Yeah.
really miss like where you get your little paper cup with the little Greek logo or whatever that and a
Yeah.
couple napkins on top, and they wrap it in a brown bag, and you go get on the subway. And anyway,
Did you have like your bodega, like your one that you
oh,
went to and
oh
like
yeah, yeah.
really
You have
yeah.
and of course, like everyone knows everyone. I mean, New York is for as big as it is, and at 8 million people or whatever it is now. Um, I had more friends and more of a sense of community in New York. It was just, yeah, it was just time for me to go.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm a small
I
town
get it.
girl at heart, and it just was time for me to go. But anyway, okay, we
Exactly.
digress. So where are we? Where are we on your journey?
Where are we?
We're getting
We are
coffee, and we
Yes, we're
are
getting coffee in Philly. Yeah, so we're
yes.
so we're in Philly. I'm I'm at this corporate job, and again, professionally, some of the skills that I learned there, I wouldn't trade for the world. That was my first actual like real corporate job post military. I learned all about contract management. That was like the biggest takeaway in that role. So it was a great professional experience from there. But about a year in to this role, I knew I'm like, again, something isn't. It's like I feel closer, but something isn't right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the best thing, I think, that two things that came out of the Philadelphia chapter of my life that I am so grateful for. One, it's where I met my husband, actually. So I moved
Nice.
to this city where I don't know anybody. And I remember going in thinking just like, I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to make great friends here. I'm going, like you said, a change of scenery can just be so inspiring in a different way. I remember going in and thinking, I'm going to just do things differently and be more open. And I met my husband within a few months of moving there. And so it was neat to actually grow in that chapter. He was learning Philadelphia too. So it's like we got to know this really cool city. It became ours and we learned it together.
Oh,
Uh,
that's awesome. So see,
it
that was worth it right
was,
there.
oh, completely, completely worth it.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing professionally, when I started to realize, okay, this particular role, corporate procurement, while lucrative, it's I'm not happy. It's not my thing. That's when real estate started to really take hold in my mind. So real estate had always been a part of my life. My mom was a realtor back in the 80s. And it's quick side note on her. my when my mom was like back in the 80s, she was a heyday, like awesome realtor, like really, really good at her job. And when she was pregnant with me, and actually going into labor, she prospected the delivery doctor who delivered me. So he happened to mention to her, like while she's laboring, oh, like I need, you're a realtor, like I need to list my house for sale. So my mom like got to work, and she started like pitching to him about all the reasons why he should give her the listing. And when I was born, within a couple hours after, no joke, my mom gave him a listing contract and he signed it, and she listed his house for sale.
Oh my
So
God,
my
that is
mom was like a
passion.
boss. Like she was like a real estate boss. She was really good. So she had always been passionate about real estate. She does a lot of real estate investing on the side, always has. So I grew up with real estate kind of always being in the background
Hmm.
of life, right? Like my mom had rental properties and that kind of thing. So I it was always an interest, but I didn't really think it could be something that I could do full time. I don't know why, but just I just thought, well, it's kind of like a thing in the background, but it's not going to be a full time gig.
Hmm.
So when I'm at this procurement job in Philly, that voice is getting louder and louder and louder, and I can't ignore it. And I reached a point where I thought, I'm not. Yes, I have a stable job. Yes, it's a great six-figure job. Like I've got a lot of income coming in, but I'm miserable every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So I put together a plan and I said, okay, I'm going to, I prepped to become a full-time realtor for about 6, 7 months before actually taking the leap. Um, I, I went to my job every day while working on licensing, like all the
Hmm.
classes and stuff at nighttime. I saved money because it was really important to me to have a really big runway financially built up. Um, and yeah, I
I
prepped
like
for
that.
about,
I like that
yes,
runway. I like that
runway.
image.
It,
That's great.
it's runway is so important. And that's what I know we'll get into it, but like, that's what, when I coach agents, when I coach my clients now, I'm all about what is your runway? How long can you last? And there are, how long you, because not only just the financial and numbers, but the emotional side,
Yeah.
like, right? Because if you don't have enough runway, you're going to be feeling the stress. So it's like, how can you minimize as much of that stress from the outset as possible?
Yes.
I know we'll get into all that,
Yes. Yes. I'm
all that
excited.
shit.
But I
Yeah,
also, can I just note for a
yeah,
second though, that one of the things I'm loving that I'm hearing that you keep repeating is this idea that you kept listening to your gut and you kept hearing these voices. I mean, I just love that, like, your true passions and your true, like, compass will always point out things. You just have to really pay attention. And I love that you were so in tune with yourself that you were like, this is good, and you kept working towards, like, having that resonate a little bit more closely, more
absolutely.
truthfully.
It's I think it's a shame when I think, how do I say this? I think that everybody really, really knows what they actually want to be doing in life. They have a feeling, they have it in their gut. Sadly, I think that most people don't listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And they go through life just ignoring it and pressing those feelings down and just getting through the motions. And I think it was one of my favorite quotes. It's actually a different favorite quote. I have another quote I'll share with you, but
Okay, good.
one of my favorite quotes, from Les Brown. And he says, I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but he says, the richest place in the world is the graveyard, because it's where all the dreams of people who have passed, all their unrealized dreams, it's where they lay now. And it's
Mm.
very sobering when you think about that. And he has this analogy, Les Brown has this analogy of, imagine being on your, I'm getting chills thinking about it. Imagine being on your deathbed and you're surrounded by the ghosts of all those unrealized dreams. So like if you had a dream of becoming an award-winning realtor, if you had a dream of writing a New York Times bestseller, if you had a dream of becoming a multimillionaire, if you had a dream of having a family and you put it off, if you had a dream of traveling the world, whatever those dreams are, but imagine them, the ghosts of those dreams surrounding you on your deathbed, and they're looking at you saying, we came to you because you're the only one who could make it happen, and now we have to die with you.
Ooh.
I know. I get goosebumps
That's
even repeating it. And,
yes.
but when you think about that, um, when you think about your dreams as being, it's not just a dream, it's actually an obligation, and you owe yourself the opportunity to go pursue it and at least try to make it happen. When you think about it as a duty and an obligation, it completely shifts how you approach life
I, I,
and what you'll do. It's
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that like we keep hearing, I think there's this myth that you're selfish if you're only thinking about your dreams in your life. And I totally push back on this because I am a firm believer that when you are going for your dreams, you're actually helping other people. Like you
yes.
literally are paving the way. Sometimes it's a mentoring position. Sometimes it's like random people, like the words that are coming out of your mouth, the energy that is vibing off of you, that you are actually helping other people more than if you were going to not live your dreams and do what everyone expects you to do. So I think that's a bunch of crap.
It is a bunch of crap. I totally agree because everybody has a gift that they need to put out into the world. And it could be anything, right? But if you don't put it out there or at least try, in a way, that's the selfish thing. That's the selfish thing by not putting it out there so that someone else can get value from you and benefit from what you're putting out,
Yes,
right?
totally. Totally. And I think too, like again, I always talk about like this idea that like there can be millions of best-selling novels on the New York Times bestseller list. There can be like, like we have this idea that like that scarcity like mindset of like there's one, like you have to be the best at one thing and you do it and that's it. It's like, oh my God, no, like we all can do the same thing. You and I could each write a book right now, and I can guarantee that we could both be really successful and we would both, it would have a completely different reach because we are writing it from our own experiences, our own life, our own voice. Like the book would matter. Like both books would matter. Do you know? Like I don't even know. I'm not making that clear, but like this
No, you are.
idea.
You
Yeah.
You are making it clear. And you know what? It's funny because some like people will say, well, like, what's your favorite book or what are you reading right now? And so often people can't just have one answer. They're like, oh, well, I
Oh,
have all these favorite books, or I'm reading all these different things because they're serving different purposes in my life. So, to your point, exactly right. We can both write a book, but we're coming from our own perspectives, our own stories, our own journeys, and they're going to resonate differently with either
yes,
with different people or even with the same person. It doesn't, so
absolutely. And
all abundance.
yes, and same with music, same with anything creative. And that's why I always think like, I think that the words, like I might write a song today that is going to touch a certain person. It's meant to touch a certain person. And someone else might listen to it and be like, no, I didn't get anything. But someone else might listen to it and be like, oh my God, that's what I've been needing to hear. I'm like, that just validates everything I feel. And like, and like I'm feel connected. And like, that's the point. Like we all have our own energy that we need to really honor. And I love that when you were talking about honoring, like honoring your dreams, honoring the thing that was put into you that,
Yeah, that
uh,
only you can do.
yes.
Yeah.
Although,
Yes.
although I was thinking I was going to be a bit of a smarty pants when you were talking about the gravesite, and I was like, yeah, but what if you were buried at sea? Do they just float around? But then I was like,
Touche. Touche. True.
uh, okay, okay,
That's funny.
floating skeletons and dreams.
Floating to-
Okay,
Yeah.
this is great. This is great. Okay,
So
yeah,
where are we? I know I'm
yeah.
having like the best. This is the best conversation. I'm like, where are
Me
we?
too. That's great. Okay, real
So
estate.
real estate.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I planned the transition from the stable job to the real estate world because again, and when you work in real estate as a traditional realtor, a lot of people don't know this, but realtors are independent contractors. They are 1099. So they are not, so like I went to work at Coldwell Banker. I was not an employee at Coldwell Banker. I was a 1099 independent contractor who hung my license with them, which means when you're in real estate, it's 100% commission. So to prepare for that, I saved up. I had 6 months of expenses in the bank before I even started. I prepared for like 6, 7 months, just planning out how the transition would work. And in August of 2015, that's when I put in my 2-week notice at my job and worked those 2 weeks. And I remember leaving the safe job on a Friday and starting day one of, they called it real estate boot camp on that following Monday.
Wow. That's so
And
exciting.
it was off to the races. So yeah, and it was off to the races. So I sold real estate in Philadelphia for 2 years, and I had two driving goals, driving whys. And when I work with clients now, I tell them the why of whatever you're doing. The why is so critical because that is going to be the thing that keeps you going on the really, really crappy days. On the days when you're like, screw this, this is overwhelming, I'm not making any money, there are no clients, my deals are falling apart, so you have to have the most compelling why, so you get up every day and you're ready to face it.
Mhm.
So my whys at that time, one, I was again really inspired by my total boss mom from her real estate days. And
Yes.
my mom had been the rookie of the year in 1984 at her brokerage. So I was like, that's it. Like, I'm going to be this year's rookie of the year. Like, that was my driving thing. And I just figured, if I'm good enough to be rookie of the year, I'll have sold some real estate concept that I can make it in this world.
Yes.
Because it's something like 90% of new realtors don't make it past their first year. So I was like, how am
Mm.
I going to be in that 10%? I'm going to be the rookie of the year.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Mm.
and then the other driving why, by this point, I literally the same week that I started real estate, I got engaged, which is great and exciting. And I also went, now we have a wedding to pay for. How are we going to pull this off?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So,
Oh, wow.
so it was like those two things at that time were my just driving whys. I'm going to be rookie of the year and I'm going to pay cash for this wedding because again, getting back to the money side, I refused to finance a wedding. I refused to go in debt. I was going to pay cash for it. So I'm like, we're going to do this. So if I make $1,000, we're having $1,000 wedding. If I make
Nice.
more than
Nice.
that, then we can spend more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was definitely motivating
Uh,
for sure.
that is
Yeah.
awesome.
So that first year, I worked my tail off and hustled. I worked really hard to just learn as much as I could. And a year later, or a year and a half later, I should say, paid for our wedding in full. And I had sold 20 homes in my first year of real estate, and I
Wow.
won rookie of the year.
Yes, that's
So
awesome.
it's like I did it. It was
So
great.
you
It
so
was
you got
awesome.
lobster, not hot
So
dogs.
I got you exactly, exactly. We had delicious lobster. So my dream was to get married actually in California in a vineyard. And so that's what we did. Yep. In 2016.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you had to really keep, I love the whole thing of going back to the why, because I'm sure during that year and a half when you were, trying to reach that goal, there were many moments. Like it's great to look back and be like, yeah, I did that. I nailed that. I knocked that out of the park. But while you're in it, I'm sure there were moments where you were like, oh gosh, what have I done?
Oh,
Why am I doing this?
exactly. Well, the first 2 months in, I didn't get my first deal until about 2 months in. So those first 2 months, I'm going, is it going to work? Is it going to work? Is it going to work? And then once I had that first deal, it's like, okay, now build on that, right?
Mm.
But it was definitely a mind game and a lot of ups and downs that entire year. And even in the middle of that year, when I had closed more deals, there were definitely times when I thought this is too overwhelming. There's too much going on, or there's not enough going on, or you close a bunch of homes and then you don't have anything in your pipeline. So then you're working to fill the pipeline again. So learning how to be more consistent, how to generate leads more consistently, how to manage your money during that time. And this time in my career, and this is again where it's funny, you look in hindsight and all the dots are connecting.
Hmm.
This is when I first began to notice um, where a lot of independent contractors are not good financially and are not good with their money. So I knew I had always been very, honestly, I've been very, very prudent. I'm a total numbers nerd. I love my spreadsheets. I am such a planner, and I had always planned everything to a T. Okay. And so I assumed that every business owner, that every independent contractor was doing the same thing. And I was really shocked to get into this world of sales and to see so many incredible sales professionals. I mean, people who are so good at what they do. They know how to prospect, they know how to talk to clients, they know how to walk with clients on the purchase journey and how to close effectively and how to negotiate. They do it all so well, but when they get that commission check, they don't know what to do with it and they blow it. And the stories of being in deep credit card debt, of owing thousands to the IRS because they hadn't paid taxes, of spending thousands on chasing marketing silver bullets and hoping to find the next thing that was going to save their business, and then being just so deeply in debt. Those kinds of stories I started hearing all the time when I was selling. And that's when my wheels started turning of, you know what, independent contractors need, they need formal business counseling. They need some of this education. And so that, at that, I didn't start Armored Agent then, but looking back, that's when I realized, okay, that's when the wheels were turning in my head of there's something here. There's something here, because it's not enough in sales just to know how to make the commission. It's not enough to know how to close a deal and make money. It's then what do you do with that money on the back end once you
Yeah.
have it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And probably balancing out like how much you're willing to spend to chase or to try to make the things work. Like
Right.
there's many
Right.
different ways to skin a cat, peel an egg. I don't know, pick a metaphor, but like yeah, there's there's many different ways to do things, right?
Yep.
And you know, I do see that a lot in business is that people think, well, just throw more money at it, throw more money at marketing, throw more money at this, and that doesn't always work.
Work. No, no, it's the, not at all. Or I see a lot, people will invest in something and they think, well, I'm already investing X amount of money per month. It's not really working, but I'm already doing it, so I'm just going to keep doing it. So it's not calculating the ROI. It's not really looking at your expenses objectively and going, what can I cut because it's no longer serving me. So it's sometimes it's helping agents or other independent contractors, helping them see, you know what, in order to make room for what is going to work in your life, you have to shed some of the excess baggage now, and that's okay. That's part of that process. That's part of skinning that cat. Or what did you
Yeah.
say? Peeling the egg?
Or,
Peeling
yeah,
the
I
egg.
don't know.
Saying
I was like,
it's. I'm going to start using that now. That's how you peel the egg.
I just made that up.
It's great. It's great. But it's true. It's sometimes in order to make room for what is supposed to happen next, you
Yeah.
have to shed some of the current. You have to really look at it and go, what can I cut to make room for where I'm supposed to go? And that's in all aspects of life,
I was
really.
just gonna
So
say that
true in money.
that's just exactly like the idea of flipping your dreams too. Of like, you know, sometimes what you did in the past, it may not be serving you anymore. Like you may need to like let that go, let that die, and like rekindle or refocus and like shift things and take a risk into a different area or whatever. Like you know, we cling to our past with such fervor. But I think there should be a respect and a love for our past, but we need to move forward. You have to move into the future. Like you
I
can't.
think it's a fear of failure, or people think, well, if I let it go, even if it's already not working, if you officially let it go, then it's official. Then it's, oh, it's, I failed at that. But no, I mean, some of the most incredible things in our life happen because of a perceived failure. We didn't really talk about this much, but when I left Chicago, when I left that startup, and and there were a lot of lessons learned from that time in my life, but I remember leaving that chapter and actually feeling like a failure, and going to Philly excited for the next chapter, but feeling like I had left Chicago on a bad note, or it just, I felt like a failure. But that had to happen in my life to move forward. I had to leave Chicago to find my husband in Philadelphia, to find the courage to be able to go to real estate. None of
Mm-hmm.
that would have happened had I not had that perceived failure in Chicago.
Absolutely.
So it's absolutely being willing to almost honor and celebrate when you know it's time to change something. And
Yes. And
live it.
yes, and not be afraid to just like do it. You may not know what it's going to look like.
Right.
Actually, I would say probably 99.9% of the time you're not going to know what it looks like. Like
Right.
you'll have no idea. And
Right.
so you can like for the planners, for the perfectionists, I'm a recovering perfectionist. For the perfectionists out there who are like trying to like, see down the road and paint 5 years from now what it's going to look like, I can guarantee it's not going to look the way we paint it. But
That's so true.
but the thing is like that's okay. Just still go for it. Just take action. And I'm such a firm believer in just taking the steps because you will be met. You're met along the way with exactly what you need. Yeah, just think if
Oh, I
you
love
hadn't
that.
left, think if
I'm
you
gonna write that
hadn't
down.
left Chicago,
Right.
like, how different.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Uh,
so true. It's
mm.
so true. So yeah. So okay. So where were we?
Let's
I
see.
keep
Okay,
losing
so
track. We go
I
off
know
on these
this is
awesome
great.
tangents.
This
I
is
love
great.
it.
You became rookie of the year and you
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
seeing, and I think we should start digging in a little bit more with your armored agent and
Yeah.
talking about, yeah.
So real estate was going well in Philadelphia, and then we moved. We picked up and moved. My husband got a great job opportunity out here in Colorado, so we moved to the Denver area about 3 years ago. I kept my license active, kept it with Coldwell Banker, and started selling real estate in the Boulder, Colorado area,
Mhm.
and then sold real estate and then joined the management team. And so this is when things really, really got interesting. So I joined the Coldwell Banker management team. I'm assisting and running a couple of these different offices. And one of the major functions of a branch manager is to coach in sales training and sales coaching and business
Mm.
planning for all of the agents. And this is when it really, really started to click
How
because
perfect for you.
it
How
was
perfect.
crazy.
Like,
Like so the hunches I was having in Philadelphia about, wow, a lot of realtors, they know how to make money, but they're terrible at keeping it.
yeah.
Those hunches were confirmed in my coaching sessions with these agents because we started doing business coaching, which inevitably turned into money coaching. Because when you're an independent contractor, when you're trying to build something, inevitably it's it all together, right? And so many of my agents would come into my office and some of them would start crying, they'd be visibly stressed, they're upset, and easily 90% of the problems traced back to money. And then for a lot of them, unfortunately, money mismanagement. It became this mentality of, well, I can spend and spend and spend, and I've got to keep up with the Joneses, and I've got to have the latest car, and I've got to present this image. So I'm spending money, spending money, spending money, getting into debt, not taking care of my obligations. But then this mentality of, well, I just need the next commission check, just the next one, because that commission check will take care of all of my past behavior. But the thing is, it doesn't, because if you don't root out the issues of why you're spending the way you are, if you don't bring out that discipline in yourself to go, okay, I'm going to take the time to root out my negative money scripts, to really dig into my money memories, my relationship with money, how, and what I associate money with. If you don't do that hard work, your spending's never going to change. And so what I do now, I did it with Coldwell Banker, and now I've launched Armored Agent, my course and my business. I coach agents on tackling their money mindsets. So my goal, and I say agents, I work with realtors, I work with independent contractors of all types, small business owners, not just in the real estate space. But the idea is, how can we flip your negative money scripts? How can we dig into how your past money memories and impressions influence your behaviors now? And then taking all that knowledge, how can we create a dynamic budget that works for you? How can I teach you to really understand and assess the ROI on what you're spending money on? And how can I change your relationship with money so that you can grow wealth for yourself?
I love
That's what I
this.
do.
I love this so much because I think that we are money is such an emotional issue
Oh,
for
it's
so
so
many people, me included. And I think that like this idea, it's like you can learn discipline, but until you like finally figure out like why when you get that commission check that you need to spend it really quickly because it might go away, or why, like where that comes from, like why you have this, like what happened to you when you were younger, or your family situation,
right.
or whatever values were passed on, or just, yeah, all the negative thoughts about money that we have. I mean, we associate, it's amazing how much it's such This is fascinating. I love this.
It's so the majority of people, it is fascinating because they don't realize how much our past influences how we handle money now. I mean, a very, very quick example. Growing up, I watched my parents go full circle in their money journey. So they made a lot of money. They spent more money than they made, and then they had to fix the situation. And they did successfully. Like my parents have both grown incredible um, legacies for themselves. They've done a fabulous job, but I watched them as a child go full circle through that process. So even to this day, that I had to watch them get out of credit card debt. Even now, I have a healthy fear of credit cards. I do use them and we're great with our credit cards, but I use them very sparingly. And it's interesting though, but I didn't understand that money script in myself until I took the time to look back and go, well, why am I so weird around credit cards? Of course, because I watched disaster with them. And now I watched the story come full circle, but it's always been kind of a cautionary tale for me, right? And that's just a quick
Yes.
personal example, but everybody has those money impressions from their youth that they don't even realize that they're
And
carrying now.
And then it's not even from your youth or your past. It's also our culture and what we see and perceive and what we think we're supposed to do. I mean, I actually did the Dave Ramsey, Rachel Cruz, cut all my credit cards right before COVID hit. That wasn't nerve wracking at all. Why did I do this? But again, like trying to get
Right.
control and trying to be like, realize that like I don't need it. It's this crutch that is just going to keep sucking me down this hole, and I need to get a handle on it, and I need to be able to figure out how to budget better and how to like pay off my bills and to see a future and to
Right.
like prepare for that future. Like I don't have a runway. I have like a field. So I need so I want to build a runway. And yeah, and so
I love your analogies. I'm like, I'm writing all these down as we talk. I'm just
yeah, I have a field and like a broken
Q&A.
down
Battlefield.
crop duster, but eventually, but yeah, so I
So
mean, I
I
def
love that you found. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I love that you found Dave Ramsey. And so something like a question I get a lot is, well, like which one do I like? Do I do Dave Ramsey or do I do Susie Orman or do I do Ramit Sethi or do I do, and there are some incredible experts in the personal finance field, right? There
Hmm.
are, and a lot of them they have slightly differing philosophies, and that's okay. The answer to that question I always tell clients is you find the method that works for you, that resonates with you. It's with your value system. It aligns with how you are and your behaviors and something that you can achieve,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
I love that you found Dave Ramsey and that Dave Ramsey works for you. I think his systems they have some incredible value.
Yeah,
Do you
I definitely, I mean, I
too?
say what? Sorry.
You listen to Chris Hogan ever? Part of
I
the D part.
Oh, yeah, every now and then. So Dave kind of scares me. He like he's super intimidating. So I actually like his daughter Rachel is a little bit like nicer and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like I'm like don't scold me, David. I know I did these things. but but yeah, but I think I still have, there's so much to be learned. And I feel like also when you're going through, like, he has the baby steps program. So,
Right.
you're supposed to cut up your credit cards and you're supposed to pay off a bill every month and you celebrate the little wins and snowball and all of those things. And I think that's really great. For some of us, that takes a little bit of time to get to the point where you start like feeling like you're actually making a difference.
Right.
And
Right.
and then like I think for me, I'm like, fascinated. I definitely want to dig in deeper. I will probably reach out to you because like this idea where I still see, so I still catch myself falling back into old money patterns of
Mhm.
like fear of not having fear, and like, and all these things. And I think, why can't I be more secure? And like, why can't I see like what do I need to do to like change this? And
Abs-
yeah.
So this is so common. And one thing that one thing I tell clients when you feel those scripts coming up of like, like let's take the one of I don't have enough, I don't have enough, I don't have enough. Immediately you have to visibly, you have to acknowledge it's the first step. You have to go, okay, I am having this negative thought right now, like it's bubbling up. I'm having this doubt of I'm going to run out of money. Oh my God, what am I going to do? The whole world's ending. If you have that thought, acknowledge it as step one, and then immediately go, what's the reality? The truth is, really, really, if you ran out of money, would you die tomorrow? No, you're not going to die.
Mm.
Are you going to be homeless? Probably not. Are you not going to make it? Probably not. It's so funny how our mind goes to such the extreme of, oh my God, the whole world's going to explode. It's really not. Could it be a tough time? It may be. Are you up for the challenge? Of course you are, because you've had tough
I like
times in the
that.
past. So it's
Mm.
taking that negative, whatever the thought is. In our case, it was, I'm going to run out of money. And instead of thinking, okay, well, I'm going to die tomorrow, I'm going to be a complete failure and I'm going to fall off the cliff, I'm going to die tomorrow. Oh my God. And we go down the spiral. Instead of that, it flip it immediately to, even if I did run out of money, I know how to make more because I'm smart and I'm capable and I have figured it out before. Okay. So
Mm.
that's the first step, is just acknowledging and flipping. And then I would also urge you for the long term, and not you, I mean, and anybody listening, for the long term, we're never there once and for all. I think even people who are multi millionaires, or even let's take another example, someone who loses weight and then they're in the maintenance mode, you're always managing. We never reach this peak state of, I've made all the money and I have the perfect budget and everything is, life is, it's just, I have arrived. That's it. End
Uh,
scene. Like it doesn't,
yeah.
it's not a movie. It's always, it's going to keep going. And so I think these thoughts of, even when you've gotten somewhere really, really great in life, then you go into maintenance mode. So even when you've conquered the negative thought and you feel really good, like you feel like you're in a good mental headspace, there's still maintenance to keep yourself there. So
Mm.
does that make sense? Like it
Totally, totally. You have to keep reinforcing. It's like
have to keep reinforcing. Yeah.
like going back to the diet analogy. It's like like when you're diet, it's like you can't just go then sit and stare at a bunch of donuts. I mean, like you need to keep like keeping yourself like inspired to cook like healthy food and find new recipes and exercise and do all the things. Like you don't just
Exactly.
reach that goal and then that's it. It's not stagnant, which I think is really, that's just a hard thing in life, right? Like we want it to end, end scene, cut, okay, we made it, like we want to reach the goal and that's it. Like and
It's
why
just
that,
not life.
it
Mhm.
isn't life. It isn't life at all. And if you're living towards that kind of a life,
Yeah.
you're going to end up in that graveyard. I think you're going to
Yeah.
end up in that graveyard with those ghosts.
And I, that's something I struggled with that growing up. Like I remember thinking, when I get to Notre Dame, everything will be perfect. When I get out of the Navy, everything will be perfect. When I move to Philly,
When you
what
get married,
when you get married, when you get all those, yeah, I have been guilty of that in the past. And it's one of these concepts I've really had to work on in myself too, of no, life continues. And that's the exciting part of it. Of course, it's not going to be once and for all done. And quite frankly, I don't want it to end scene right now. Like
yeah.
I got a lot of living to do, right?
And that's
So
when
if we
you
embrace
know.
that concept, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, and that's when you know you're actually living, when you realize that, when you have that moment, when you're no longer like stressed that you can't get to the end scene, when you're
Right.
finally just like, oh my god, this moment right here is awesome, and the next this one's great too, and wait, this one's really awesome too. Like
Yeah.
that's when you really engage in your life, and that's when you know you're living from a passionate, engaged, like abundant place versus this scarcity of like, oh, I've got to hurry, 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 reach the goal.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Oh, it's so true. It's so
yeah.
true.
But I really, I think the money thing though, this is so interesting. I mean, so like you do coaching for lots of different people.
Mhm.
What does that look like, and how can people reach out to you, like me?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so people can go to my website, It's katiemild.com. And I offer a few different things. I do offer individualized one-on-one coaching, and there are a few different coaching packages available. My flagship course, the Armored Agent online course, it's 8 modules, self-paced. And what we do primarily, there's a lot of work up front where we dig into your numbers. And as a number nerd, I'm like, bring it on. It's so fun. Okay, but we get it out of the way early because I want clients to face the music fast. I want them to see, where am I today with my money? And
Mm-hmm.
then we take that and we go really deep into mindset. There are modules, the modules are all about limiting scripts, identifying your driving purpose and your driving, creating an environment that's going to set you up for success. It's tackling those internal factors that affect the outflow of your money. So
Mm.
katiemild.com, that's where people can find me for one-on-one coaching or to reach that course. And then Instagram, I can send you all this too, but Instagram, I'm Katie_Mild as well. I love engaging there and on YouTube.
That is
So
awesome. No, I'll definitely share this in all the show notes and everything. And so, okay, what is your biggest advice or piece of advice to someone who, let's say, so a lot of people who are listening to this are like flipping their dreams or thinking of flipping their dreams, and they may not have their runway. They may still be in the field. Um, what what's some of your like, I guess, best advice for being like creating a successful future?
okay, so
Starting,
like
yeah.
no joke, I wrote down, I don't know if you, I wrote down 3 tips, like top 3 tips that I would give people. And no joke, I don't know if you can see this on my screen, but number 1 is build your runway up first.
Yay.
Because it's so important for a few different reasons. I mean, it's for me, I know going into when I made my first jump, right? Knowing I had 6 months in the bank gave me a peace of mind of, okay, I can focus all of my attention on building out my real estate dream because I know my lights aren't going to get turned off and I can put food on the table. Okay. So I would advise as much runway as you possibly can. Now, there may be people who have made the jump and don't have the runway. That's okay. What I would advise at this point then is, what can you do to generate some level of income to bring in your basic expenses? Um, there are 2 financial stats, and we talk about this in the Armored Agent course, but there are 2 financial stats that I urge every independent contractor to know immediately and have at the ready. One is your net worth. Net worth is all your assets minus all your liabilities. Quick, simple number. It gives you a really quick snapshot of where you stand. And the second one is what I call your possibility quotient. It's your PQ. And your PQ is the space between your income and your expenses. And all you need for that is your budget, because you can very quickly see, is your income playing nicely with your expenses, or are they at odds? Do you have enough income to cover or not? And you have to know the answer to that
Mm-hmm.
question. So calculate your PQ, calculate your net worth. If you haven't started yet, build up as much runway as possible. I also advise all independent contractors, they need to have what I call an ebbs and flows account. And what this is, so we talk about, everybody knows what an emergency savings account is, right? The rainy day fund. But
Mm-hmm.
an ebbs and flows account is for those lean months when you know you're not going to make a lot of money, right? So in real estate, for example, traditionally, and some markets are different, but traditionally, realtors don't make as much money in December, January, February, right? A lot of people, again, it depends on your market, but a lot of people don't want to be buying a house over the holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you know that's coming and you know, okay, my minimum expenses every month are 3 grand, go ahead and work towards building an ebbs and flows account that has a couple months worth of extra expenses in the bank. Okay. So you can pull from that account to cover those lean months. So that's in addition to your emergency fund. If you get
Yes.
to know me in coaching, I'm all about lots of different accounts.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so definitely have an ebbs and flows account. And then my third tip, really quick, automate as much as possible and always pay yourself first. Your retirement, even when it feels like you're not making anything, we didn't even get into this today, but your retirement should be your number one priority. So even if you open an account and you can only put in like $10 a month to start, do it and open it, because one day we all want to retire. And I firmly believe everybody has the right to a dignified and abundant retirement, but you have to go earn it now. You have to get to work now to reap that benefit later.
Mm. That is such good advice. And I also think, like, for those people, like, I'm sort of in a hybrid of I still have I have the day job
Mhm.
that's paying bills and covering expenses, but I'm also working on my passion projects around that, which means I'm pretty tired all the time. But but no, actually it's really fabulous, but it does mean there's a trade-off. Like if for some people it might not be the time. You might need to double up. It's like going to college at night and weekends while you're working full time. Like, you might need to do the work, put in the time and the resources and the effort to get where you can finally build up your runway and be able to
Right.
like launch fully into that passion dream life that you desire. And it doesn't mean that just because it's not going to happen tomorrow doesn't mean like it's never going to happen. It
Right.
just
It's
it
not no, it's not yet.
Nice.
Right?
Ooh, I like
It,
that.
yeah, yeah. I
Ooh.
heard that somewhere. I heard that from someone. Can't take credit, but it's true. It's just not yet, right? And
Yep.
it's okay. My father-in-law, he years and years and years ago, to put himself through his undergraduate degree, he didn't want to go into debt. And so he went to school for a semester, worked for a semester, went to school. It took him 7 years to get his undergraduate degree. But he came out debt free.
Mm.
And he's an engineer and he loves what he does to this day. And he's never, looking back on it, even all these years later, he's never regretted just slowing down and doing things on his timeline. He had a plan. It worked for him. He worked a financial plan that was his and he owned it and it worked. So don't be afraid to do things the way that you have to make it work. That's okay.
Yeah, I love that. I love also, again, it goes back to this don't compare your journey with anyone else's,
Yeah.
because like everyone is different and your timeline and your plan is going to be different than someone else's. And so
Yes.
don't get discouraged by looking at someone who you perceive is further ahead of you. They may not be in some areas, they may be way behind you. So just
Right.
like knowing, just run it goes back to, a previous podcast episode, run your own race. You really have to just,
Oh, I love that.
yeah,
I love
just
that.
follow your
Follow your
own
own.
track.
It's so
Yeah.
true. It's so true.
Okay, wait. So we're like nearing the end of our time together, which is
I
sad.
can't believe that. That flew by.
I know it really did.
Crazy.
So I want to hear your quote for the week.
Okay, so yeah, my favorite quote. So that Les Brown one earlier. What's funny is I didn't think about that until we were having our conversation, but that one I think about a lot. Because again, it's this having the duty and the obligation to give your dreams life. But the
That's
one I
good.
wrote down, and this is like my other favorite go-to. It's by James Lane Allen, and it is: the vision you glorify in your mind, the ideal you enthrone in your heart. This you will build your life by, and this you will become. I I firmly believe
Mm.
what we think becomes reality. And I know it can sound so hokey and I know it can sound so contrived, but the truth is what we think up here consistently, it drives all of our actions out into the
It's
world.
so 100%.
Everything. So whatever you are holding in your mind as your ideal, guard it and love on it and nurture it and then get to work to make it
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Oh, I love that so much. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think that each and every day, the act of actively capturing negative thoughts or limiting thoughts about yourself, or like, oh, I can't do that, or someone else has done, or whatever, all that crap that we tell ourselves.
Right.
The more we can like let that go and then have that vision of where we want to be and work towards that, and like cheer yourself on, be your own cheerleader. Sometimes
Mhm.
you have to tell yourself, God, you're really rocking this, you're doing great. Like, whatever, if you're not hearing it, tell it to yourself, because you are. And you will. I really do believe that it makes you successful.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is such another really inspiring conversation, and
Thanks
I am
for having
so,
me.
oh my gosh, this
This is
is
so
great.
fun.
Yes. And I will share everything about Armored Agent and your website and all the things to connect to you in show notes. And I'll also probably do a little digging into, maybe reach out to you separately as well as we're all on this journey.
Love
Even
it.
though I'm
Mhm.
I'm hosting this, we're all figuring things out.
We
So
are. We are.
yeah.
I would love that, Heather. And I think your story is so amazing and so inspiring and so cool. So
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Wow, what a great episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful to have you here. And I hope you as well are excited about thinking wherever you're at on your financial journey of beginning to build your runway or fortify it. I just love Katie's positive outlook on money and just that this was a great chat for me. So I hope you enjoyed as well. And thank you for listening to episode 20. We will do our retro next week and then look forward to moving into the next 10 episodes. So I hope you get a chance to check out any episodes that you haven't heard already. And until next time, keep on dreaming. Don't forget, it's never too late to transform your past and empower your future. Thank you again for listening to Flipping Dreams.